Page 1-34, exercise 1-9 is about advancing the session date. So we don't need to go in and out of the Sage 50 program whenever we need to change our session date. So if, for example, you logged in and that pop-up didn't come up and your session date didn't get changed, there is a way to do that. So in the top right-hand corner, we have our session date calendar. If I click on that, it's going to bring me the box that I see when I log into Sage 50 where I can change my session date. So I want to select a new session date of April 25th, and I'm going to hit OK. So sometimes when you do that, you'll see a backup, a pop-up asking if we want to back up the information. If that happens to you, just click no, we don't need to back it up right now. So we're now moving on to recording a compound entry and adding, a new account. This is exercise 1-10A, and we're going to do this in a similar way to what we did in the manual bookkeeping. They give us a transaction to analyze, determining what accounts we need to use, and how we're going to enter that into the system. So on April 22nd, we received a debit memo dated for today from the bank indicating a $215 payment was made on the bank loan that includes interest of $76.44, and the loan was received on March 22nd. The correct compound entry is going to be to a debit to bank loan payable. We want to reduce our bank loan payable because we've now made a payment on it. We're going to debit our bank loan interest expense. We've paid interest, which is an expense to the business. And we're going to credit our cash in bank because our bank account was decreased by $215. A new general ledger account for bank loan interest expense will be created as part of exercise 1-10B. So again, we're going to click on our general journal icon, and this is going to bring open my, journal window. My source document based on this transaction is going to be my bank debit memo. It says right in the first line, we received a debit memo. And now we want to move over to the date field, which we can do by using the tab key or simply by clicking on it. So this occurred on April 22nd, 2024. So even though our session date is April 25th, I want to make sure that I'm using the transaction date. So we'll see that the date then changed. Our comment then is they want us to type in bank loan payment long term. So again, this is like the explanation that we always put in when we were making journal entries in the manual bookkeeping. And this is our long-term bank loan. And now we're going to move to the account field either by clicking or using the tab key. We want to use the account bank loan payable, which is $2,710. It is a liability. I can double click to find my account number, or I can simply start typing it in, 2710, and hit tab, and that's going to autofill my bank account title, basically. Sorry, I'm just going to make this bigger so you can actually see it a little bit clearer. So our debit amount was $138.56. A principal was paid off on this bank loan payable. I now, so I'm going to put in my comment here that this is the principal repayment part of this transaction. I hit tab, it's going to bring me to my next account line. So this is 1-10B, where we need to add a new general ledger account that we don't have yet. So I'm going to double click on accounts. That's going to bring up my new screen, and I'm going to click on add new account and either hit enter or click select. So now you're going to see this screen. We're going to assign an account number. In this case, they tell us it's 5,190. And we want the name of this account to be our bank loan interest expense. So even if they hadn't provided the number for us, we're going to remember that this is an expense account that would fall in the range of $5,000 to $5,999. If I were to put in an account number that was already used, it would pop up and let me know that number is not available. So you must make sure that it fits one of the numbering sequences as noted above. The account follows after account 5,180 for bank charges expense, and there is room to add other accounts between 5180 and 5190 later if needed. Again, under name, this is the name of the new account. So when it looks like the screenshot on in figure 1-10A, we're going to click next. So this window is the GIFI code window. The code is missing in this window. The default type of account code will be the group account. It will be displayed in figure 1-10E. Step 5, account groups will be explained in more detail in a different chapter. So let's not worry about that for right now. So again, we see our current balance is 0. This is the new account for Photos Company, so you cannot add a balance to a new account in this company data file. This file is in ready mode for the company folder. You can create a balance for a company that is being created. Again, later chapter, don't worry about what I just said. So we're going to, sorry, I'm just reading here. I'm going to skip a little bit here. It's not really relevant to what we're doing. So we're going to leave this field empty and just hit next. Okay. So if the account to be added is a heading or a final total of a section, you would click yes. Account 5190 is an account used to accumulate bank loan interest expense and is not a heading or a total account. Headings and total accounts, again, discussed in chapter 4. So all they mean there is like on statements, like, for example, the income statement where one section makes up, you have a heading, for example, the example they use is balance sheet. So it's right there on the screen. Current assets would be a group heading. Current liabilities, again, would be a heading. Total current assets would be our total account. It would be the total of any asset accounts that we have. This particular account is neither of those things. So we're going to leave it on no and click next. Is this an account whose balance will be included in a subtotal, for example, Bank A? So they're showing us on the left-hand side, this particular company might have two different bank accounts. So they have Bank A and Bank B, and then they have the net cash value of their asset. This is not going to be an account that is part of a subtotal. So we're not going to worry about clicking yes. We're going to leave it on no, and we're going to hit next. So the next screen asks about account class. Accounts are used to track and categorize specific types of transactions. The account class identifies each account's purpose and groups it with similar accounts. So for example, your bank account keeps track of all deposits and checks. Select an account class and click next to accept your choice. In this case, it is going to be operating expense, which was automatically basically auto-filled because we put it in the 5,000 series. We don't need to drop down and look at more like that. We're going to hit next. The next question is, do you want to be able to allocate amounts from this account to a division? We are not going to, we're not working with projects yet. So we're going to hit no. We do not want to allocate amounts from this account to a specific division, and we're going to hit next. Do you want to omit this account from financial statements if its balance is 0? So this is a personal preference thing, and it can be changed in the report generation windows that we looked at before. So we want to leave that at no. We're going to hit next. And that is going to bring us to the last screen, which is we've now finished entering the information for this account. When we hit finish, I now have a new account created for bank loan interest expense. So in this case, it is a compound entry. It is another debit, but if I hit tab, it's going to bring me to my debit field, and I'm going to type in 7644. I'm going to hit tab. We don't have to put in another comment, so I'm going to add my next account, which in this case is my bank account, 1,100. So I can either type that in and hit, I hit enter, so it instead of tab, so it did bring up the window. I'm going to hit select. I do not want this to be a debit. It's going to be a credit. And you'll notice when I go to the next column, it is automatically going to total what my credit should be and put that amount in there for me so that my debit and my credits are balanced. So just always make sure that any amounts that autofill for you are the amounts that they need to be. So $215, we're going to hit tab. That's going to take me to the comment field. We're going to put bank loan payment. And we're not going to post it yet until we complete the next exercise. Portion of your general journal window should resemble the following, which is on the textbook, page 1-38, which it does. So again, we're going to report, display, make sure that our entry looks normal. In brackets, you can see this is journal entry J2. Again, if your numbers are skewed from what their numbers are, it's probably because you've made a correction along the way and you have some extra journal entries that they do not have. So we can see here that our journal entry looks good. We have a debit to bank loan payable, a debit to bank loan interest expense, and a credit to our bank account, our debits and our credit balance, which makes us happy. So we're going to make sure that everything is balanced despite the fact that this is a compound entry. So I'm going to return to my general journal screen, and it's screaming at me, do not post this yet. That is because we're going to create a recurring entry. So to store an entry for future use, Sage 50 has a feature built in for that. So a transaction that you know is going to be repeated many times during the year, such as a bank loan payment transaction, you can set that as reoccurring so that it automatically does it and you don't have to re-enter it each time. So the next time your bank debits your account for the loan payment, you can recall the entry, change the date and the amount, and it's ready to post. It saves you time and it helps to avoid errors. So exercise 1-11, creating a recurring entry. To store this entry for future use, you're going to click the third icon on the left side of the toolbar. So this is what they're talking about being the toolbar. On the left side, we're looking at the third one. And you can hover over them and they're going to tell you what each of them means. In this case, it is storing a recurring entry. So when I click on that, I'm going to get a pop-up. You can change the name of the recurring transaction. And we are going to change that to bank loan payment monthly. Under frequency, depending on how often this is going to happen, I could change this to being random, daily, weekly, so on and so forth. In this case, it's going to reoccur on a monthly basis, so I'm going to leave it as monthly. And I'm going to hit OK. This entry is now saved for future use. We'll use a different reoccurring entry in exercise 1-16, but that means now that this entry is going to be stored in the system so that each month that this happens, I don't have to start this entry from scratch. Now that that's done, I'm going to hit post. It tells me it was posted successfully. This is journal entry J2. So when I hit OK, that brings me to my empty journal window. And I'm going to wrap up this video. It's at 15 minutes, so I'm just going to close out of here. The next video is going to cover page 1-40, exercise 1-12.